Today is Monday, April 24th. We'll update you about the Supreme Court's latest decision about abortion in the U.S. Also, how Americans were rescued in Africa's third largest country and why an even bigger rescue mission could still be ahead. Plus, 5 NFL players are getting punished for gambling. One of the original big box retailers is getting ready to go out of business. And higher mortgage rates for good credit? We'll explain a controversial new policy change. Those stories and much more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The U.S. Supreme Court made a decision in the first major abortion-related case since overturning Roe v. Wade. The justices decided the so-called abortion pill can stay on the market indefinitely, at least while challenges over the drug can be sorted out in court. So officially, justices blocked the lower court orders that would have limited access to the pill immediately. The drug we're talking about is mifepristone, which the FDA approved 23 years ago. Major medical groups say the pill has a well-established safety record. It's used for about half of all abortions in the U.S., as well as for some miscarriage management, too. It's coming up now because anti-abortion groups sued the FDA, saying the drug is dangerous, putting women and girls in harm's way. And they want the FDA's approval thrown out. That fight is going to continue, but it will likely take many months to sort out, or it might end up back before the Supreme Court, likely next year. It looks like the airmen accused of sharing sensitive intelligence online actually posted even more government secrets on another larger group more than a year ago. The New York Times reviewed online postings and found the same user offered up intelligence from the CIA and NSA about the Russian war effort less than 48 hours after the invasion of Ukraine. He apparently shared them on an easily accessible chat group with about 600 members and sent even more in direct messages. Officially, the current case against the airmen is over the leaking of classified documents on another group. The case is believed to be the most serious American security breach since 2010. The airman is being charged with violating the Espionage Act and removing defense material. Now, legal experts say he's expected to face more charges. Though so far, no comment from the government or the suspect's lawyers about this latest report. American diplomats and their families were rescued from Sudan over the weekend now that fighting has intensified in the East African country. U.S. military special forces went in to airlift them out on helicopters in the middle of the night. Thankfully, they all got out safely. But now there's concern for aid workers and other Americans left behind. All operations at the American embassy in Sudan are suspended, and thousands of Americans are said to be left there. For now, they're being told to shelter in place while the U.S. works on a safe way to get them out. It's not easy, since the violence has paralyzed Sudan's airports, destroying civilian planes and damaging runways. And internet and phone service is spotty, if not out completely. World leaders are pushing for a truce between the rival groups who are fighting in Sudan, even if it's just a temporary one. Well, it is another example of the dangers so many people are facing right now when they try to migrate into the United States. Fires were set at a sprawling migrant camp in Mexico, just across the border from Texas. About 2,000 people were staying there, mostly from Venezuela, Haiti, and Mexico. A migrant advocate says makeshift tents at the camp were doused with gasoline and set on fire. No one has been reported seriously hurt. And for now, it's not clear who's to blame. Some people point to cartel-backed gangs who often demand money for migrants to pass through their territory. Others say it might have been a group of migrants frustrated over their long wait to cross the border into the U.S. There have been a lot of protests over that lately, since they've been struggling with a new mobile app run by the U.S. government. They apply on the app to enter the U.S. legally at an official crossing and claim asylum. But there are far more migrants than available slots, so more and more people are waiting near the border, often in shelters and camps like the one that caught fire. The situation is expected to get even more tense when the pandemic-era rule, known as Title 42, ends next month. To be continued. The Homeland Security Department is now looking into how the government can use artificial intelligence to keep the U.S. safe. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says there's a new task force to explore how AI could be used to do a better job at the work his department is already doing. So, for example, screening cargo coming into the country for illegal goods, like drugs, chemicals, or products made with slave labor. He also is hoping to use AI to secure electric grids and water supply systems. But Mayorkas says the department will also make sure its AI is tested to avoid bias and will be clearly explainable to people. The task force now has 2 months to develop a plan. More news is coming up, but first, instead of a regular sponsor today, I want to tell you about one of my favorite Instagram accounts to follow, specifically for delicious recipes and cooking tips, but also just for some fun. Brie McCoy always brings a level of joy to cooking that I wasn't sure was possible. And that really is key for me because I can't take cooking too seriously, otherwise I'll just avoid it or feel stressed out. There's none of that with Brie, and yet I learned so much and saved so many of her recipes. When you check out Brie McCoy's Instagram, you'll learn things like the easiest way to peel a hard-boiled egg, the best frozen rosé recipe, a foolproof plan on how to eat those meals you froze before they get lost in the back of your freezer, and the easiest and most inexpensive way to create more countertop space in your kitchen. There is so much more over on her Instagram, so be sure you join me in following her at Brie McCoy. That's Brie, B-R-I, McCoy, M-C-K-O-Y. I'll link to it in our episode notes as well so you can find it. Okay, now back to the news. All right, well, if you have any of those blue and white Bed Bath & Beyond coupons laying around, you'll want to use them ASAP. The home goods chain filed for bankruptcy over the weekend and said it expects it will have to go out of business by this summer. For now, the chain says it's still going to look for a buyer, but if one does not come forward in the next couple of months, it will be forced to shut down. And that includes not only Bed Bath & Beyond stores, but Bye Bye Baby stores too, since they're owned by the same company. This is a big turnaround for the store that was once the go-to place for a lot of couples making wedding registries and planning for new babies or students getting ready to go to college. But demand has really slumped in the last decade or so. And now the store says it has no other choice but to start winding down operations. Bed Bath & Beyond says customers have just today and tomorrow to use their remaining 20% off coupons at stores. After that, it's starting going out of business sales, which will all be final. Gift cards will be valid for the next 2 weeks. Bud Light is going through a bit of a leadership shakeup. It comes after backlash over one of its ad campaigns. The marketing executive who oversaw a partnership between Bud Light and a transgender influencer is now taking a leave of absence. That partnership started stirring up controversy earlier this month when the influencer posted a video of herself cracking open a can of Bud Light with the hashtag #BudLightPartner. In response, Republican politicians like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as well as musicians like Kid Rock, called for a Bud Light boycott. Since the transgender woman's video was posted, the stock price plummeted for Bud Light's parent company, Anheuser-Busch. Still, Bud Light is the best-selling beer in the U.S. Now, another executive already in the Budweiser family moved to take over the Bud Light marketing. The company's CEO also released a statement saying, quote, "We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer." And now some LGBTQ advocates are calling for a Bud Light boycott over what they view as a backtrack on a deal the company had with the influencer. So it's unclear what this all means for Bud Light's future campaigns or whether it plans on addressing the backlash anymore. The NFL is getting strict about its gambling policy. 4 players from the Detroit Lions and 1 from the Washington Commanders got suspended for betting, making this the biggest group of penalties for gambling violations in 60 years. The most notable name on the list is Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams, who was the 12th overall pick in last year's draft. But he was only suspended for 6 games. 3 other players got indefinite suspensions. And the Lions decided to release 2 of them, who apparently bet on NFL games. The agent for Williams said the issue with him was an online bet that was not even related to football. But so far, the other players and their agents have not commented. The NFL said its investigation did not find that any game was compromised in any way. It was an eventful day at NASCAR's biggest and fastest track. We're talking about Talladega Superspeedway. There, Kyle Busch ended up winning NASCAR's Cup Series race in double overtime yesterday. He actually didn't lead a single lap until the second overtime. But that's all he needed, since the other leaders all crashed or ran out of fuel. The win was Busch's 2nd of the season and 62nd of his career. Next up, the series goes to Dover Motor Speedway in Delaware next weekend. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, I want to let you know about our partner, Soul Organics. I personally love their sheets and have been sleeping on them for years now. And now, in honor of Earth Day over the weekend, since that's an important holiday to the company, they have announced their 100% organic cotton linens are an extra 40% off through Wednesday. Soul Organics linen is made with the finest certified European flax in the world. And I can speak from experience that Soul Organic sheets are light and breathable during the summer and temperature regulating in the winter. Plus, the company only uses suppliers that are certified experts in sustainable fibers. All Soul Organics products have free shipping in the U.S. and a 30-night free trial. I've created a special link for you to use that will help support the show. And when you use the code EARTH, you'll get an extra 40% off on organic cotton linens. The sale ends in just a couple of days, so go now to thenewsworthy.com/sheets and use the code EARTH. Again, that's thenewsworthy.com/sheets to get soft, breathable, organic sheets for this spring, summer, and beyond. Now back to Money Monday. If you're thinking about buying a home, listen up. Federal rules on mortgage fees are about to change. And now, in some cases, people with higher credit scores may end up paying more than they have in the past, while those with lower credit scores could pay less. To be clear, if you have a top credit score, you'll still pay less than if you have a lower credit score. But the penalty for having a lower credit score will be smaller, and so will the benefit of having a high one. The changes will apply to any loan that's guaranteed by either Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, no matter who the lender is. So this will impact the vast majority of homebuyers in the U.S. How much of an impact are we talking here? Well, it depends on the exact credit score, cost of the home, and down payment. But theoretically, for someone with a $400,000 loan and good credit, experts say this could translate to an extra $480 a year. Some mortgage industry professionals are criticizing the change, calling it an ugly surprise for homebuyers who worked for years to build their credit. But the federal agency behind the change says it's trying to close a gap in opportunity for low-income borrowers to qualify for affordable homes. And it argues the impact to everyone else is minimal. The change goes into effect a week from today. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. We appreciate you being here. And it would really help us out if you're willing to share the show with at least one person this week. Let them know why you love to listen and help them find and follow us in a podcast app. Thank you so much for helping to spread the word about our work. All right, we'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.